You're unmuted. Hello.
Where is he?
Can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Rico, are we live?
This way.
Why?
Yeah. Sure.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, Mr. Barron. Mr. Barron, can you please give us a quick audio check?
Where's my pen?
Hear me?
Not very well.
You can't hear me very well?
Rico, can you please confirm that we are live?
1 second. We are live. We are live.
Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for joining us. We are here this afternoon. This is Jessica Corbett speaking, Director of External Affairs for Fulton County. We have quite a few journalists on the line with us today. I wanted to give a very brief update regarding some of the preparations that Fulton County has undertaken for tomorrow's runoff election. We will go ahead and open with Chairman Rob Pitts. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Ms. Corbett, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Just to recap where we are at this point in time, early voting obviously ended. During that period of time, we had 30 early voting locations. We had 38 drop boxes located strategically around the county, and 2 of the early voting locations included State Farm Arena and our newest partner, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, owned by the Atlanta Falcons and Atlanta United. That partnership, as you all recall, we were very thrilled going back to November to have had the Atlanta Hawks and State Farm Arena partner with us. And as a result of that partnership, the Atlanta Falcons and Atlanta United decided that they wanted to partner with us as well. So it ended up being a 3-way partnership between Fulton County government, State Farm Arena, and Mercedes-Benz. Could not be more thrilled about that relationship, which speaks to our community here, our private sector, nonprofit community, all stepped up to help us to ensure that our election cycle would be successful. So as a result of early voting, just to give you a couple of numbers, I believe we mailed out approximately 183,000 absentee ballot applications, and we have received 99,579 absentee ballots. Some 270,000+ citizens chose to vote early at one of the 30 early voting locations. So that gets us as to where we are today. Beginning tomorrow, and I will be one of those who will be voting at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm old school. I like to vote on election day. I'll be in line with my neighbors. But we will have 254 precincts countywide. We will have some 3,500 employees working at the 254 precincts. We will have a technician at each of the precincts. We will have the appropriate and proper security at each precinct. And we will have our 2 mobile units on standby, which we can deploy as needed countywide. So from a preparedness, from a readiness point of view, it is my opinion that Fulton County, Georgia will be ready for tomorrow, ready to conduct another, and I want to underscore that, another very successful election, just as successful as we were back in November. I gave us a A+ back in November, and we are on track to receive an A+ tomorrow. thanks to the hard work of our Director of Registration and Elections, Mr. Richard Barron. You'll hear from him. But more importantly, and he'd be certainly agree with me on this, the employees in his department and the county employees who stepped forward when requested to do so, as well as the volunteers who came forward from the public and private sectors to help us. So that's where we are today. I'm very excited about tomorrow. And I'll say at this point, just get this on the table. The naysayers that are out there who are alleging things about Fulton County, Georgia. We're the largest county in the state of Georgia, most complex county in the state of Georgia, but we did it right. We've set an example, and I think that we're going to do the same thing tomorrow. So, Mr. Barron, with that as an introduction on my part, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman. And with regard to the number of applications that the chairman referred to, I'll just be a tad, I'll provide a little more detail to that. Of the almost 180,000 applications that we processed, we mailed out about 156, just over 156,000 ballots with those applications, because many of the applications that we get in end up being duplicate submissions. So that's just another detail to that. We've also received 99,579 absentee ballots back thus far. We've scanned 80,198 of those. Those numbers were both as of yesterday evening. Our goal is to have everything we receive today and tomorrow completed tomorrow night, but it is possible we will have to conclude on Wednesday. It's that our goal is to complete that tomorrow night, and that would be well past midnight. I would think that would happen. We have until Friday to receive military and overseas ballots. The early voting turnout was very, very high. Had we had 19 days of early voting as we did in November, we would have exceeded the November total. We had almost 271,000 people vote unofficially for the January election, and that was outpacing the November early voting turnout. We have 254 locations that will be open tomorrow, and all of the equipment has been delivered for those sites, so they are ready to go. Poll workers are setting up their polling sites today, so they will be ready for the morning. And with that, I'm ready to answer questions.
Thank you very much, Chairman Pitts and Mr. Barron. We can go ahead and move into Q&A now. We've had a lot of questions about turnout and about preparations. I wanted to let reporters know that we have, of course, are aware of some of the things that have been said, and Chairman Pitts alluded to this earlier. I'm going to just go ahead and ask Mr. Barron if he wants to address some of the claims that have been made, since I know that's a question we've already received.
Well, I think, there was a audio recording leaked yesterday, and I guess what I would say is that the Board of Registration Elections, Department of Registration Elections, we've cooperated fully with every investigation from the Georgia Secretary of State's office, and we will continue to do so if necessary. And we are just going to continue to conduct the elections in compliance with the law. And we know that there's been a great deal of misinformation out there that's been circulated. We don't have the resources to respond to each one of these. And instead, we've been focusing on preparing for tomorrow and conducting the election legally, fairly, and transparently. And I think that we do that every day, and that's what my staff is committed to doing. And with that, if there are any other questions, I can take.
Thank you, Mr. Barron, for going ahead and addressing that one. In the Q&A, we have one question. This is from Reese. It says, Fulton County wound up in the biggest spotlight imaginable in November. How have you prepared your staff for Election Day this time around?
Well, we have done the same thing for this election that we did in November, and that's just we have processes that we have to, and procedures that we have to follow. There are certain things we have to do before every election. We've conducted a lot of elections this year, and so this is another in that cycle. We've conducted elections since June. We had June, August, September, November, December, and now we're into January. And so we continue to do the same things before each election. We have a little time to get ready between them. However, that's what the staff is here to do, and that's to perform that work.
Thank you. I'm just typing a note. If anyone is on the line, you are welcome to either raise your hand and you're welcome to ask the question. I don't see any hands raised right now. You can also enter questions in the chat or in the Q&A, whichever you prefer. One thing, okay, we do have another one right here. It says, can you address the claims circulating on social media of, quote, counterfeit ballots discovered in a Fulton County warehouse and later shredded? These were emergency ballots, not fake ballots, correct? And Mr. Barron, you just talked about misinformation. Would you like to address that?
Sure. Well, we haven't shredded any ballots, and yeah, that claim is false. We had a set of ballots out in our warehouse when we had the COVID infection that went through the warehouse. Almost 28 individuals came down with COVID in a matter of less than 2 weeks. So we had ballots that we had ordered in case there was a plan C, that if we had to conduct the election in an all paper fashion, if we weren't able to conclude logic and accuracy testing as we normally do before every election. And so that's what those ballots are, and they're still there, and they are sitting there on the pallets out in the warehouse as they should. And we have retention periods for every document in the election, for every election, and we retain documents based on that retention period. Normally it's 2 years for most documents.
Thank you very much for addressing that. We do not have any other questions in the chat right now. One question we have also received is about security and how are we keeping our polling places safe and keeping our workers safe. Is that something that either of you would like to address? Mr. Chairman, you nodded your head. I don't know if you'd have anything you'd like to say.
No, I was going to refer that question to Mr. Barron.
Yeah, we have, we'll have at least an officer at every polling site tomorrow, which we did also during early voting. And we will have, we've got security at Georgia World Congress Center where we're processing absentee by mail ballots, as well as the election preparation center where we will tabulate results.
Thank you very much. All right, well, I do not see any additional questions at this time. Just as a reminder for reporters who are covering these elections, oh wait, we do have another question. This person says at least one person, this is from Reese also, at least one Fulton election worker was doxxed and threatened. In light of that, what have you told your staff to expect tomorrow and in the days after?
Well, I think everyone knows that not only Fulton County, but all the counties in Georgia are in the spotlight right now. And so we are all prepared for this as well as we can be. We've received hundreds of calls expressing anything from displeasure to including a bomb threat, some several death threats, among other things. And we're trying to take each of those things as they happen and and just continue to do our jobs until we conclude this election. And we're hoping that everything is successful tomorrow as we had it in November. We're confident that that will be the case. And I think the staff knows what to expect in this environment right now.
Thank you so much. We have a couple of questions. I have one here in the chat. It says, does the 271,000 number include the 100,000 absentee ballots? Could you clarify that?
No, 271,000 voted in person during at all of our early voting sites. We had 30 permanent sites open. We had the 2 outreach sites between State Farm and Mercedes-Benz, and then we also had our 2 mobile voting units, the buses. And then the absentee ballots are an additional 100,000. So between those, right now we have 370,000 ballots, and I expect anywhere from what we get in the mail today through the drop boxes tomorrow, that we aren't sure what number that will be, but I'm imagining it'll be in the 3,000 to 10,000 range. And we'll try to get those processed as quickly as possible tomorrow once we receive them. For Tuesday, I'm expecting anywhere from 60 to 150,000 people to vote. It just depends. If we had 88% of the voters vote before Election Day in November, if that is, and that was 12% of the voters that voted. And so, but I think based on the early voting turnout, how high it was, I think we're going to have more people vote tomorrow than because they didn't have those extra 4 days to vote early.
Thank you, Mr. Barron. So just to be clear, the 100,000 absentee ballots, that is the number of absentee ballots that you have that have been returned to us so far, not the number issued.
Yes, yeah, I think through yesterday it was 99,573.
Okay, thank you. We have one other question submitted here. It says a few Fulton County residents, including Tyler Perry, and I did see that post, have said they're still waiting on absentee ballots. Are you concerned there will be long lines tomorrow, considering some absentee ballots haven't been sent in yet?
Well, I think that's one thing that we always anticipate. And so we have a canceled ballot affidavit clerk in every precinct if people show up and they haven't received their absentee by mail. I think with the Christmas season in the middle of this election, it has affected the mail. There were 3 holidays for the mail in that time period. So it has affected mail delivery. There were some people that were concerned about not receiving their absentee by mail over the weekend, and I know at least a couple of them received them today. So hopefully those individuals will receive their ballots by tomorrow.
Thank you. We have a question here from Ben Brash. This is, he says that Fulton County was mentioned by name 16 times in the recording that was shared yesterday. I know no county is bigger in Georgia, but why do you think the president has focused on Fulton? Mr. Chairman, is that something you're interested in responding to?
Yeah, I think that, again, of the 159 counties, we are the largest. We're the granddaddy of all counties in the state of Georgia. And we have been unfairly, and I'll state that unequivocally, unfairly criticized by any number of people. No justification whatsoever. So when it gets out there and fingers are pointed at us, then others just simply pile on. But the facts do not support the criticism that we receive. And that's why, though, that we saw what happened back earlier in the year. We saw all of it as a challenge to us to say to the naysayers that what you are saying is not true, and we're going to get it right. And we did get it right. We put the money in place. We went from some $17 million up to approximately $40 million in money to make sure that Mr. Barron and his people had all of the resources that they needed to conduct a successful election, which they did. So the criticism, it goes with the territory. When you're the biggest, you're the best, it's to be expected.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Barron, anything you want to add to that, or?
No, I think he said it.
Thank you. One more question we have here says, do you think, and I think you addressed this already, Mr. Barron, do you think if we had the same number of early voting days for the January 5th election that we would have had more early voting than for November?
Yes, most definitely. I think we would have exceeded it by at least 10 or 20,000.
Good. It looks like that is, we have answered all the questions in the chat. Mr. Barron, here we go. Mr. Chairman or Mr. Barron, are either of you aware of any pending legal challenges regarding the call? And will poll workers be sent home before all received ballots are counted? He knows that there are still overseas military ballots through Friday. You want to address the schedule for absentee ballot processing, and then separate question about pending legal challenges regarding the call?
Well, I think regarding what call are they?
I believe this is referring to the leaked recording from yesterday.
I have no legal challenges with regard to the call, and I think the other question was, well, everybody tomorrow is assigned to be there from 5 a.m. until release, and so I anticipate, I don't know for sure, but in November the state told all the counties to go home at 2 a.m. I don't know if that'll be the case this time, but we told everyone to expect to stay until at least 2 a.m. or until release.
Thank you very much. We are not aware of anything regarding a legal challenge. I will say that we are aware that the district attorney has issued a statement about this, which I believe we've already shared with Mr. Brash. We're not here to speak for the DA. If there's a reporter who's interested in receiving that statement, please, you're welcome to contact me or Regina or Daryl, and we'll be glad to connect you to the DA's office so they can speak for themselves. All right, I think that concludes. Any final words, gentlemen?
Yes, my final word is this. I am just so proud of the voters in Fulton County who are really excited about this opportunity. I personally toured each of the 30 precincts for early voting twice to see firsthand what was going on, to see what our employees were doing to make sure that all of the equipment was working. And I'll be visiting some 50 tomorrow, 50 of the 254. And I can tell you that what I saw from one end of the county to the next was that people excited about the opportunity to vote. I wasn't concerned about their choice of candidates, but it was the fact that they were, in fact, taking the time to vote. They were standing in line, they were peaceful, they were quiet, they were reading, they were practicing social distancing and so forth. So to me, that's a tribute to the folk in the county. And lastly, I would just say this, it's just really as it's an aside, but it speaks to how much interest there is not only locally, but nationally and even internationally in this race. There must be, I think, some 5 or 6 people who have called up and admitted that they have tested positive for the virus, but still want to vote. And this is how accommodating we are and how open and how transparent we are, and thanks to the training that our poll workers and managers have received, that we will be making arrangements for those individuals to drive up properly with the proper protocols and so forth, and be able to vote with a provisional ballot. So that simply speaks to the fact that there's tremendous interest in these races, and I'm just so proud of the people who are taking the time to vote, but more importantly, proud of the workers that are helping us to pull this off, and another A+ that I'm hoping to award to Fulton County again tomorrow.
And I think, Jessica, one thing I would reiterate is to make sure that everyone goes to their assigned polling place to avoid having to cast a provisional ballot. If you vote out of precinct, you have to vote a provisional ballot. And then the other message I would have is just that I'm really proud of my staff to continue coming to work every day, especially in these conditions, with the number of racial slurs that have been hurled at them, and they continue to face up to that, and they keep coming in and they keep working hard.
Thank you very much, Mr. Barron. Definitely, this is the year of the poll worker. Well, Chairman Pitts, Mr. Barron, thank you both. Thanks to all of the reporters who joined us this afternoon. For those who need to refresh, we will have a link and we'll send that out a little bit later. Thank you all. We look forward to seeing you all tomorrow, and stay safe.
Thank you. See you at 7 a.m. Cathedral of St. Philip's.
Bye.